Hey you guys, and welcome back to the Cattleya cooking experience, and I am your host, Miss Jerky. Before we get into today's menu, please follow me on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok in order to stay up to date with weekly recipe videos. So today we're going to learn how to make meatloaf and Mexican cornbread the Cattleya way. All right, so let's get started on our meatloaf first. And you want to preheat the oven to 375 degrees. We're going to also review the ingredients for meatloaf. And we have 2 pounds of fresh ground beef. This is Angus beef. And you want to use more of your lean. So this is 100% lean that I like to use. Also, we do have a half of a cup of milk. We also have 2 eggs that's lightly beaten. We also have a a pack of McCormick meatloaf seasoning. We also have 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. We have a half a cup of ketchup. We have Italian seasoning and lemon garlic pepper seasoning. We also have some fresh garlic, some cheese, Colby Jack, and we also have some mixed vegetables, and we have our olive oil to grease the pan once we're done mixing. And so now we're going to get into mixing, which I have my handy dandy gloves. So I'm going to also just put that on because this can get quite messy. No particular order. And use it at your leisure, you know, as far as the vegetables. And now we're going to use our hands and we're going to just mix all of the ingredients up together before we form our loaf. You can add in more vegetables to your liking, more seasoning to your liking. Well, now it's time to make our loaf. So once you're done massaging all of the ingredients together, we are about to form a nice loaf. And I'm going to actually switch pans before I put it in the oven. Now we have to transfer the meatloaf into the cooking pan. And I like to cook in a rectangle, a nice deep dish sturdy pan. And we're going to first pour the olive oil in the pan. And we're just going to make sure that actually gets all around the pan, evenly coated. And so I like to stick this inside of my pan so that it separates the juice, but also gives it a nice touch. So we're going to transfer the meatloaf now. It's almost like you got to care for it like a little baby, you know what I mean? All right, so just fixing the shape of the loaf once I transfer it in the pan. And so we're going to make sure your oven again is preheated to 375. I normally cook my meatloaf halfway through and then I slice it up, pour the gravy over it, but we're going to come back and show you exactly how I do things. But you want to at least cook your meatloaf for an hour or until it reaches 160 degrees. Now, about the gravy, you want to have a separate pot for your choice of gravy, and I like the Swedish style gravy. So that is my choice for today. And we're going to also mix in some mushrooms. We're going to mix in some cheese, shredded Colby Jack cheese. We're going to also mix in some Parmesan cheese as well as some butter balls. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to just go ahead and stir that in nice and evenly. And then we're going to cover it with the top. Just let it simmer until the halfway mark for our meatloaf. And now we're going to cover the top and we're going to let that simmer. Now for the Mexican cornbread. So let's review some ingredients here. We have 2 cups of your buttermilk cornmeal mix. So we have 2 cups of that. We also have cheese, shredded Colby Jack cheese. We have some sugar, some jalapenos with juice. We have butter. We also have sweet cream style corn. We have eggs, 1 egg beaten, and we also have milk. All right. Again, not in any order. So let's go ahead and get started, get some of this stuff out our way. Start out just a little slow. And so we also have preheated our cornbread muffin pans with, you know, any type of Pam, or I cannot believe it's butter spray. And we're going to just go ahead and fill those cups up halfway is what we're going to do. Sometimes this can get a little messy. Now we have cleaned up our cornbread and we're going to preheat the oven to 425 degrees and we're going to let that cook for roughly between 30 to 45 minutes. Make sure you check it at the 30-minute mark. You can always check your cornbread with a toothpick. That's a really great tool to use to check your cornbread. So let's check on our meatloaf while our cornbread cook. So our meatloaf have reached the halfway mark, which is 30 minutes into an hour. And what I like to do is slice up my meatloaf, pour the gravy on top, and put it back in the oven for 30 more minutes. So let's get started. So again, you just want to slice it nice sizes. Don't have to be that big. So now we have sliced up our meatloaf, and I like to kind of separate it just a little bit so that the gravy can get in between the slices. All of that good gravy and juice. All right, now it is time to pour our gravy. Look at nice gravy. All of the mushrooms. Just gonna pour that right on top. We're gonna save some for the plate. And we're going to go ahead and cover that back up and put it back in the oven for 30 more minutes. And your meatloaf should be done. And just like that, you have a delicious meatloaf breaded over garlic mashed potatoes. And it's also paired with collard greens, topped with tomatoes and onions. And you also have your Mexican cornbread. Thank you guys for hanging out with Miss Jerky. It is always a pleasure to bring you my recipes the Cattleya Way. Cookbook is coming soon. Also, make sure to check out the website at cattleyacooks.com to register for how to sign up for my masterclass. And lastly, like, share, and subscribe my video. And until the next time, happy holidays and happy new year to you and your family from Miss Jerky and my family.